Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdicus Dave, and today it's a pleasure of being joined by Janet and Dimitris of World Anvil. How are you guys doing today?
Very good.
Good.
Thank
Happy
you
to
very
be
much.
here.
Yes, great to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a real long time since I talked to you, Dimitri, and Janet. I haven't talked to you since Gen Con when the world was better.
Back when the world was new and we could move around.
Yeah. The last time I talked to you, you were busy winning an Emmy and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's actually we're so proud of it. My God, we put it there.
Nice. Which is awesome. Yeah. Well, congratulations, Dimitri, because I did not see you to congratulate you or talk to you since then.
Thank you so very much. I'll tell you what, we moved recently from the UK to Greece, and the only thing I took with me from World Anvil stuff was the Annie. I was like, I don't care if anything else is lost.
Yeah,
I do not lose this Annie.
That's awesome. So what's going on with World Anvil? What's new?
Well, a lot. We hit 1 million subscribed users in our birthday, which was about 2 weeks ago.
More than 2 weeks ago, like a month ago.
More than a month ago, yeah. Time goes by very quickly.
Time goes fast, people.
Yeah.
Which birthday was that?
That was the third birthday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're 3 years old now.
So we're 3 years old. We're eating solid food.
See, they say it's the terrible twos you got to watch out, but I found that my experience with my kids, it was 3 was worse.
Okay, so we'll watch out. We won't say the Anvil.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's going well. We're about to launch our third time big competition.
Yeah.
It will Denver in about 5 days from now, which means that things are insane here in terms of preparation.
It's nuts. It's nuts. We have so many prizes to give.
Yes.
We have so many people that want to take part this year. It's going to be intense. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going well. We also have a lot of new features coming out very soon. So it's a very interesting time.
Yeah. So just to explain things, Dimitri can't stop making cool stuff. That's pretty much it's like his blessing and his curse. Like he'll be like, oh, I'm so tired, and I'll go to sleep, and then I'll wake up with, I have an amazing idea for a new feature. And then we get new features on World Anvil. So like the whole UI since we last chatted has been completely smoothed out.
3 times.
3 times.
Yeah.
So we're doing sort of rolling upgrades on pretty much everything. We now have a novel writing software, like a complete novel writing software, which is badass. And like loads of people have been using it over NaNoWriMo, I know. Yeah. And apart from that, just like we support a ton of systems now, which is really great. We just got new D&D 5e sheets. Like we had some, but we got new ones and they're shinier.
So let's back up a little because we're all really familiar with each other, and these are always great because it's like hanging out with old friends. But let's back up a little bit for people who maybe they're not familiar with World Anvil by some chance.
Good point.
So give us the elevator pitch. What is World Anvil? What do you guys do over there?
World Anvil is an online software that allows game masters primarily and and writers in the same level effectively create their virtual worlds and also run their campaigns and also run their novels.
Yeah.
Have I put everything? Yes, I think that's pretty much
it. So
the
TLDR is it helps you organize and create and also show your stuff to the people you want to show it to, and then hide the stuff that you want to hide. So like all of the things that you create for your world, all the lore for your campaign setting, NPCs, your maps, all of that stuff, timelines. You can show all the bits that you want to show. You can hide all the bits you want to hide. And a lot of the stuff is also interactive, which means that if your players want to get involved, they can get like super involved.
Yeah. Also, planning your campaign, which is very important and something we have been thinking about a lot. World Anvil is made to make sure that the storyteller can organize their players and the character sheets and their homebrew, because that's something that we found out in the community that is needed a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, especially storytellers, came to us and say, look, I have created so many campaigns in the past and I wrote my own monsters, so I have written my own locations and traps, and I always lose them because you put them in a folder and it's like that, and then the folder is lost, or you don't know where it is underneath like the 50 books you have there.
Or you accidentally throw it away, or the cat throws up on it, or, these things.
Yes, it's happened the last one.
All of these have happened to me personally.
Yes. So effectively now we have a repository that you can put your character sheets and you can put your homebrew all together kind of thing and organize your sessions and your players and everything like that together. So yeah.
Exactly.
So
we use it.
So there's one thing I want to bring up real quick. And all right, folks out there, if your spouse is nearby, cover their ears or whatever you got to do. Because Dimitris is going to make you look bad. So my understanding, World Anvil actually had a little bit of a different origin. It kind of started as an authoring tool so that someone would finish writing their novels and make it easier for them. So maybe I'm looking at Janet here. So Dimitri basically, made this platform so his wife could have an easier time with writing her novels.
Right.
Which,
to be fair with you, it's still the case. Like it's still when it comes to upgrades to World Anvil, I still actually first of all ask Janet, what do you need? What would you make your life easier?
Sometimes when I'm working, he'll just sit and watch me.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm like, oh crap, he'll be like, wait, what is it? What is it? How can I help you? I'll be like, I just made a typo. Like that one I was user error. And he'll be like, yeah, but can I make a feature for it?
Yeah. I think Google has that feature because I misspell stuff all the time. And then you see the dotted green underline after it's corrected it.
Yeah, it is very useful, isn't it?
I am terrible at spelling. And the worst is when I spell something so poorly, Google is like, what are you trying to do?
I know, right? When you fail to even get the spell checker to understand what you meant, it is a horrible... I have to tell you, Dave, I'm dyslexic. I'm currently doing a job that I'm not allowed to talk about, but I'm writing a big RPG and it's very exciting. And I sent in one of the scenes last week. And then this week I was writing new scenes and I was writing away and I was looking at the list of things that I'd done and the list of things I have to do. And I realized that I had mixed up East and West. And I had written an entire scene in the west of the country, which was supposed to be in the east of the country because I had completely mixed up West and East because I'm dyslexic. And I had to write them a message and be like, I'm a professional, but I mixed up East and West.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Can you please just auto replace? I'm so sorry.
Oops.
So yeah, these things happen.
I think, I don't think I know. Like, I know my daughter has been diagnosed as having dyslexia, and I'm guessing she probably got it from me. Like, I've never been diagnosed, but also, like, when I was a kid, they didn't diagnose you for things. What was that? You guys are exploding.
Sorry about that. Our door makes this like disturbing noise. It doesn't just go like ding dong like a usual door. It sounds like a freaking Dalek.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah. Your house is being invaded by a Dalek.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry.
Exterminate.
I don't know what's going on back there. Please ignore the man behind the curtain.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Okay. What are you doing?
I'm trying to go into place.
Okay, how's that going for you?
Good.
Excellent.
I'm back.
Doing it live, folks. We're doing it live. This is how it goes. Speaking of live, you guys do quite a bit of live streaming yourselves.
We are, and we're really enjoying it.
Oh, we love it. So we have this big old community. But of course, I mean, now we're in, can I mention the Q word? Now we're in quarantine.
Yeah.
And in general, our community, we have 1 million people using World Anvil, but they're all over the world, right? So our live streaming is such a nice way to connect with our community, to chat with them, to like answer questions. And, somebody will ask a question about like, how do I world build X, or how do I approach building a villain or something? And of course, we'll give our answers, but we'll invite the audience to talk about it as well. And then you end up with this like amazing melting pot of ideas. And that's what we're here for. Like, that's what got us into this World Anvil thing in the first place, is that we love this stuff,
I think that if anyone wants to create a community, you have to understand the responsibility you have to this community, especially in this time.
Yeah.
When people need, connection, human connection in one way or another. And I think that we wish we can stream even more than we do, but we do the most we can. We stream 3 days a week for about an hour and a half each time.
Yeah.
And we're trying to bring the community together essentially because they're amazing people, creative people as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're all like TTRPG players. They're all world builders. They're going to be cool folks,
Yeah.
It's kind of why we started doing the live streams again. We had done these before, and you guys were on. I think you guys were on like right after World Anvil had launched the first time.
Exactly. We were here with you in November when we launched end of October in 2017.
When it was still a baby anvil.
Not even a baby. It wasn't even a baby back then. It was like a fetus of sorts.
But fetal anvil sounds weird.
Yes,
actually, it kind of sounds like a band. Fetal anvil.
Yeah, death metal
I
band.
don't know.
So yeah, and back then I think you guys were still like figuring out exactly what World Anvil was going to be, and,
Well,
and it seems like you've
don't.
kind of formed that. It's you know who the audience is now.
I think that the audience found out what World Anvil is, not us. So we try to guide the community on what they need. So the most famous question I ask people when we are in Discord and we're discussing with the community is not what can I do for you, is tell me why you need to do what you requested me to do.
Yeah.
And really, we're learning from our community. World Anvil is not self-realized, or kind of is self-realized. If World Anvil is community, essentially, it's about meeting the needs of the people in the community and finding the best way for them to do what they need to do.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, people request features. We look at these features very carefully and think, okay, well, this is what they're asking for, but what do they really want? Like, what do they what's their end goal? Because a lot of people don't sort of see the whole picture. They don't see it as a, UX designer
as a tool
does.
set kind of thing.
Exactly. So they'll ask for something and we'll look at it and be like, oh, they want to do this. Well, we can do that. We can make that better. We can do it this way. So that's basically what we spend a lot of time doing, is making sure that people can do what they want to using World Anvil.
I think the biggest description of that and a big example of that is the current feature I'm building right now, which is Chronos. So from the first day, since we actually talked together as well the first time, we had maps and we had timelines. And of course, you make sense for you as a storyteller. Of course, you understand maps are very important because you need to be able to see where things are and where people are going, and to show to your players effectively how your map is. And you also need timelines to keep track of time and events, like the history of your world and the history of your campaign and everything like that. So 3 years afterwards, we came to a point to understand that, in fact, what people need is to understand their world, not just in space or time, but together. And that's where Chronos comes into place. We're building for the first time a feature that allows people not only to see things and when they happen, but also where it happened at the same time. So it's going to be effectively, imagine like exploring a history of your world, and by clicking on places to be able to see where these things are happening within the time as well.
So when you click, not only will you go to the place, but you can go to a specific point in time in the place?
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can see the other things that happened then as well. So
Yeah,
you can
parallel.
see like consecutive events.
Parallel events, essentially parallel timelines. So when this king was doing that king was doing that, and the adventuring party was there. So you can actually see like a more beautiful, a more cohesive understanding of what is happening and when and where.
So that's all pretty awesome. Also, I'm still wrapping my head around, you said 1 million users now?
Yes.
It's crazy. So we live in the second biggest city in Greece. World Anvil is bigger than the city we live in. It's insane. Like I still don't really believe it. I'll be walking around sometimes and I'll be like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't think you can wrap your head around these kind of numbers.
Frozen. Dave,
no, I don't think so.
Dave.
I don't seem to be.
You move. This way.
I did move. I'm stuck
That's
like
fine.
a JPEG.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying that I don't think you can wrap your head around these kind of numbers.
No.
You mainly have seen in your life 5,000 people, maybe 50,000 people if you were in a big like sports
Stadium,
event. But 1 million people is 20 times that. Like you cannot really face that number.
It's a little bit crazy.
Yeah, and also too, like numbers are weird in a sense when you say like double something, like you can certainly imagine that. But once you get to a certain point in numbers, that double that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
exactly. No, it's absolutely right.
So when you initially started this and put that out there to the world, did you ever imagine it would get this big?
Dave, when we talked the first time, I told you that we're starting it as an experiment, and maybe at some point, if World Anvil is able to essentially have 1,000 people, we'll keep on going.
Yeah, so our sort of internal discussion about this, we both had other jobs when this started. I was an opera singer and a performer, and Dimitris was a CTO.
Yeah.
And our internal discussion about this was, if it can support its own server costs via Patreon, then fine. It was teeny tiny back then, so the server costs were not a lot because it was very small. And we were like, well, if it can support its own server costs and it can look after itself, we just give it some time, and that's fine. Then otherwise we just take it down and we just use it ourselves privately.
And then come April in 2018, only like 6 months afterwards, we didn't have enough time to even do our own work back then. Essentially, we were struggling to work on our work because we were working essentially our jobs and then another 8 to 10 hours on World Anvil, and we had no life.
I used to sit in the green room, like behind the opera, working on World Anvil, and then go on stage. So I'd be sat in the green room, dressed in this dress, like 5 feet wide, in a massive dress with a big hat with like things on it. And then I get a microphone, and then I get my call, and I'd be like, crap, I have to go. And I'd like shut my laptop and run on stage. And then I'd come back and I'd be like, well, crap, I need to be CEO of World Anvil again. Okay, here we go.
So this is all both of you do right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that hard for you, Janet, to leave, your life as a performer to do this?
It was really tough, but it's a different kind of, sorry about that. It's a different kind of space. And, it's something else that I love. That's the thing. So I left something that's really creative, but I'm still doing something that's really creative. Like,
very,
like all the work that we do, thinking of how to make World Anvil even better, how to get it to people, how to sort of help people. Of course, we on our YouTube channel, we do a lot of sort of world building support videos as well and that kind of thing. And I'm, on the side, I'm also doing a lot of writing, both novels and RPGs. So all of that stuff, it's still creative, it's still fun. That's all I really want from life. It's just to like run around and have fun and play RPGs and write cool things and, hang out with cool people, Dave. Hang out with cool people.
Yeah. I feel you there. That's one of the best things about what we do is hanging out with other people and meeting people from all around the world.
This was what amazed me with Gen Con, actually, because I went there and I was like, oh no, I'm so scared. It's going to be so many people and they're all going to be important. And like, I'm nobody. So I just sort of wandered around like this, being like, nobody knows who I am. Hey, a lot of people knew who I was, which was really weird. And I was not prepared for that. So people kept coming up to me and being like, oh my God, you're Janet from World Anvil. And I'd be like, yes, I am.
Yeah. That part is really weird to get used to.
It was so strange.
Yeah.
I had my friend Michael there, who was amazing. And every time it happened, he'd like pop out from behind me and be like, yes, it's Janet. Do you want a picture? How are you doing? And I'd be like, oh my God, you're so good at humaning.
He is the perfect hype man.
Perfect. I love him so much. But on top of that, everybody was it just felt like a giant village of friends. That's kind of what Gen Con felt like. Like everywhere I went, everyone I talked to, if it was like somebody waiting behind me in a line, or if it was like somebody who had a cool costume on, like everybody is just so friendly and wonderful in our community, or at least that was my experience there. And it's amazing, but we're very lucky.
It is very hard work. I'm not on the creative part, or at least the normal creative part. What we do as developers is not considered to be creative by the many people, but it is actually very creative, in fact.
Of course.
And it is very hard to continue working when you don't have a supportive community as we have. And I find it that the reason that I continue working effectively 10 hours a day is because we have the community that, really comes and says, thank you very much for the help, for the work, and actually gives ideas, and they are passionate about creating even more things about it. And I think that for me, it's very important, like probably the most important.
That's where I was kind of going to go next for you, Dimitri, where, you came from a world where you're working as the developer. I imagine you're not getting, you're not going to get the same level of reward that you do working on something like World Anvil, where people see you as the creator, you made it, you're helping them to build their worlds and do this stuff. Where, I imagine like being a developer is like any other job. You just punch in your clock, you do your thing. Yeah, it's kind of thankless, right? Like until it breaks.
Look, it depends where you work and what you do. Okay, you're absolutely right. A big percentage of the development work is actually self-serving for the owner of the business or for financial essentially interests. So there is nothing much given to developers. There are, of course, many startups that developers create, and they are very passionate about it, and they create very, very cool stuff, and it's very rewarding. But in many ways, I never thought I would be able to achieve to do something like that, and now I am. World Anvil is a startup for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, of course it is.
And I'm running, and then about 2 months ago, I have done maybe one of the most amazing things I've ever thought about. I have managed to have a second developer in the team, which effectively means that for the first time, I allowed somebody who is passionate about World Anvil and who is passionate about development to do the same thing I do and help me build World Anvil. And for me, that was a massive milestone, even bigger than World Anvil, because I helped somebody else achieve their dreams, and that was amazing for me.
No, I can totally empathize and get where you're coming from, because we just passed in September the 1 year mark for our content director that we hired on full time,
Cool.
Doug, and he's been awesome, and like that is it is such a cool feeling, and also a lot of extra pressure too.
Yeah.
To keep it going and keeping it employed and putting money back into the community, so that other people can do the thing that they love to do as well. Where before this I did heavy construction and more specifically like road construction, and we would get done a job and I would look back and I would see the finished highway, and guess what? I did not care at all. Right? It was just like move on to the next job, and no one cared that you did it either. Right? They only care when there's potholes and stuff. But like when you do this kind of stuff, people appreciate what you do, and you feel you get a sense of fulfillment that I've never gotten from any other job.
It is very true. And I have to say that the thing I've never imagined I would have to deal with is the pressure of understanding that now you have to take care of other people as well.
Yeah.
Like it's a beautiful feeling that you're serving people and you're helping them achieve their dreams. But on the same time, you feel the responsibility that you now have people who rely on you for their month to month, living kind of thing. And for me, that was a big responsibility, but also a very big honor as well in many ways. And we always said to Janet that we will not do that unless we're 100% certain that we can support these people.
Yeah. For us, it's important to be, a rock basically for them. Yeah. But I mean, also from the creative perspective, like we have so many people reach out to us and say, World Anvil got me through really tough times, or since I found World Anvil, I've been more creative than I've ever been before. I've finished the book. So that we have a literary professor who's also a writer in our community. And he came to me at the end of our July competition and said, I've never been so inspired. This thing got me out of a writing rut. I finished my book. I'm halfway through my next book. My publisher has never been so happy with me. Thank you so much for making World Anvil. And that's the moment where you go, shit, we're actually changing people's lives.
Yeah.
This is crazy. And we, I just think of, World Anvil is the thing that we do, and we make content and we try and help people and we try want people to be successful. And, when people publish things, we shout them out, and that's what we do. But then there's this whole level of people who have found it transformative, which is kind of mind-blowing in a way.
It's the same thing for all creators, and I think that this is something as creators, you as well, Dave, we don't realize so much. We don't realize that when you put your heart into something and people come and use whatever you do, even if that's information that you have shared on the internet or your videos that you put out or an essay you've written or a tool that you've made, you are in fact helping people make their own lives better. And that's what we're here. We're here to serve these people. Yeah. And we don't realize it so often. And sometimes, it slaps you in the face like, oh, okay, yeah, that's actually, somebody is better for it kind of thing. And that's great.
So do you guys actually have time to get in gaming now?
A little bit more, a very little bit more than we used to, I think. Yeah. Like, I think that for the first time, the last 6 months, we played on Thursdays, my campaign online, and we managed ourselves to get on Monday afternoon some time to play by ourselves.
So, I want to tell you the story. We got a gaming table. It's beautiful. It's made by Rathskellers. It's freaking amazing in our new place. And we finally had organized it. So we have 2 different groups to play around the table. It's never happened before. We have a place to play. We have people to play. And then lockdown happened.
Oh, yeah.
All of our plans. I had 2 characters created, one for each session. And now suddenly, people can't come to us anymore. So
and the thing we're playing on a Monday is in fact Janet's session 0, which essentially, kind of like grew into a campaign to become solo because there was nobody else to play with.
Right, exactly. So I was like, let's just play session 0 for the campaign. I've got the character ready. I want to play. And it's just turned into a solo campaign because our friends can't come around. and we really want to play this game at the table. Like, we've missed that so much, you know.
It will come around.
We'll get there. But yeah, we are playing more, which is nice.
Yes.
So when the world finally does go back to normal, how's the gaming scene in Greece?
There is a very, very big community in Greece for role-playing games. And there has always been, because, I don't like to say that, but having lived in other countries in Europe tend to be, and I think the US as well, tend to be more segregated in terms like nerds and geeks and everybody else, but in Greece, it's not like that at all. In Greece, it was always very streamlined and very acceptable to play Magic or to play RPGs.
So it wasn't something you did like hidden in your mother's basement.
Yeah,
it was something that you just
common.
like, you did it with people and you didn't mind talking about it at the water cooler.
And that was because board games were so much
such a big thing.
A big thing in Greece. So the step from RPG to board games to RPGs, especially when board games became more about fantasy and things like that, it was a very short one. So there is no lack of people to play. We can definitely find a lot of people to play easily in Greece.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind. So I will say the only problem is, so I have a standing invitation to go hang out at the beach in Greece, but the plane tickets to Greece are super expensive. And also the world isn't accepting Americans right now. But
if you do come in Greece, we'll be more than happy to hear you and to see you in person, that's for sure.
Yeah, our city is amazing. So come see us. It's awesome here. I'll feed the living crap out of you.
Yeah, I had. Well, that sounds awesome. I had made friends with a guy named Constantine from D&D in a Castle, and he's also from Greece as well. So I was looking at he's like, yeah, you can come anytime you want. And so I was looking at the plane tickets. I was like, oh my god, I think it was like $3,000-$4,000 for a plane ticket.
That might not be a good flight. You're in LA, aren't you?
We're on the East Coast.
Okay, so you should find cheaper tickets because the truth of the matter is that I think that was about $600 to cross the pond to the UK, and then from the UK is like £70 or something to come to Greece. So like $100, $150.
We'll find you some good flights. That's what we're saying here.
Possible.
We will find you good flights. We will get you here, and then we will feed the living crap out of you, and we will play D&D on that massive D&D table.
Yes,
nice. That sounds like a good time.
Yes,
you've heard it, audience. It's happening.
That is perfect. And now, so like my wife has recently started gaming within the last year or so, and we've been together. Like I was talking about this a little bit yesterday, but we've been together for 27 years, and so and finally she's gotten interested in gaming, so she's in a couple of games with us, so we can all game together. It'd be cool.
That'd be amazing.
That is amazing.
That would be awesome.
That's amazing.
Yes, definitely. We'll make it happen.
I find it very odd when, at least nowadays, when couples don't role play together, because it's so. I mean, at least now it's such a strong culture. Like if you are playing D&D, you talk about it a lot. It's like a passion thing, right? It's very hard to find that people do not share it so much as they used to. It used to be a bit different, but in the last 10 years, it kind of changed the face since the 5th edition a lot, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's, everybody's got their own dynamic.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. At least here, it seems very common, right? Because we get that, we'd always get the question, how do you get your significant other or spouse into gaming? All the time. And I'm like, well, you really can't unless they want to.
Yeah.
This is what it comes down to.
There are gateway drugs.
Yeah.
They're gateway drugs for D&D. You've got to find the right board games, and then you've got to lure them in slowly.
We have Munchkin.
Right, exactly. And you just very slowly you get them in. But we have a friend where the only way that she would start playing is if we were playing drunk bards together. So the rest of the party would, play, and then she and I would be on the end of the table drinking wine, and we would be the drunk bards, and we would just basically be commenting on the action. And that was the way that we were going to get her into D&D.
Yes.
That is oddly specific.
See what happens. Yeah, well, you got to know your audience, honey. That's how it works.
I don't know. I'm thinking that just makes me think of the two old guy Muppets.
Yeah, that's exactly who we wanted to be.
Yeah.
That is exactly who we wanted to be.
Perfect.
But, what bards? That was the plan. Yeah.
Yeah, satire bards. That is perfect.
Exactly. And then, we'd throw quips, and then occasionally we'd throw something pointy. That's how it
That's how
goes.
it goes, exactly. You're a bard.
And Janet, you were on the D&D channel for a while.
I was
playing with Guy and those folks.
That was so much fun. I love that game. So we played Ghost of Saltmarsh for one season. And then we played Avernus for one season, Descent into Avernus. And I had just so much fun. Like the group we were playing with really clicked quickly. And playing with Guy is always a pleasure.
Oh yeah, Guy's amazing.
I mean, you know that we did that Middle Earth game together. Do you remember?
Yes. Yep.
That was fun.
Yes, it was fun.
But yeah, no, I mean, playing with Guy, playing with that group, I'm going to say it's probably sacrilege, was actually better than playing on the D&D channel. Like coincidentally, it was on the D&D channel, but the really cool thing was that group and Guy, and we had a whole like comic bent to it. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
So we had all accidentally created these very comic characters. And it was just really nice. Good experience.
I find that happens more often than not now, especially like if you've been playing for a long time and you've played in a lot of like really serious games. And also like, you know, especially like now with everything that's going on in the world, like there's enough serious to go around for sure. So,
oh dear.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think for me, I also like, I create very different characters for live streams than I create for table games.
Yeah.
Or for like private games. And I think that for me, a comic character works really well for a live stream because at the end of the day, a live stream is entertainment for the audience.
Oh dear God, I'm
the
so
Daleks
sorry.
are back. Jesus, I'm so sorry about this.
You guys are so getting exterminated.
Yeah, well, fortunately, they can't use the stairs, so there is hope. But yeah, no, I find that, you know, playing comic characters in streams is a lot more successful. Because it just makes it sort of more entertaining, lighter.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you want to show to people around you, and I think most of the times people go on live streams to have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like they watch because they want it to be entertaining, right? I have never played Game of Thrones though. I think there would be difficulty having a comic Game of Thrones character.
Yeah, but also I think it's a different type of game. I think that in generally the successful games online are either fun games or highly emotional games, like games that you see very big emotional trauma or emotional. How do you call that? I'm sorry, guys. I have a migraine today, by the way, Dave. That's why I have like half my brain working right now, literally. So
drama, like a lot of drama.
Yeah, exactly. Dramatic games,
like when you cut off my arm.
Well,
he cut off my arm.
Yeah.
It was a game. He cut off my arm. And my strategy was to repay him with like super drama. And I accidentally made the other people in the stream cry, which was not the intention, but yeah, they full out cried.
Full out cried.
And I was like, I'm gonna make Dimitri feel really bad for cutting off my arm. And I pulled out all my acting training from the past when I was an opera singer, and I was like, I'm gonna use all of this. And Dimitri, unfortunately, was like, this is great, more of this, please.
Exactly. I was absolutely elated about the fact that everybody else was literally, I'm not even kidding Dave, they were tearing. That's how well she played. And I was like, that's amazing. You are not punishing me. I love it. More, please. More, please.
Yeah. So it backfired is what I'm saying.
That was disconcerting for me the first time I made like a player cry at the table. And it was during a stream. It wasn't like super over the top, but it's also just the way they play, and they're like, no, it's okay, it's not bad. It's just I'm just into it. Like we had there was a scene where where the players all made a deal with hags, and they lost things that were important to them, and some memories. And it was like this character had a riding dog that they had throughout the whole game, and Monty, and they lost their connection to the dog, and or the emotional connection. Like intellectually, they knew that this animal was important to them for some reason, and the dog recognized them, but not in the same way it used to. And then they started crying. And I was like, oh no, what have I done?
I cried on the D&D channel.
Yeah.
I cried on the D&D channel.
So, but apparently it's okay because, like, see, when I started playing D&D, and for many of the years I played D&D, you don't cry during D&D. It's not part of the game. But more modern RPGs, they play the game a little bit differently, and it's okay.
I don't know. I mean, the second game I've ever played when I was 16 years old, I made my players scream, and we had to stop the game halfway. I was 16 years old. I was playing Call of Cthulhu. It was a summer night. We were playing at 2:00 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And I have managed to scare the living crap out of them to the point they were shivering and were like, no more. And then we had to go out essentially and get them juice to drink and, take care of them because I broke my players. Literally, I broke my players. Second session I've ever played. Yes, it was.
Oh man, it's part of Call of Cthulhu, though, right? That's supposed to
happen. It was a great session. They still remember it.
Yeah, so they're psychiatrists.
Yeah. Well, if you experience Call of Cthulhu or any of the great old ones, really, one of the side effects should be at least some mild insanity.
Right.
It was not even a great old one. It was literally one of those 1918 games in a mansion by like a misty lake kind of thing. Yeah, sure. This is the kind of scenario we had. I just scared them because I have prepared sound effects that I didn't know about in the room, and I kept on freaking them out slowly until a very big bang that made them shake to the point of not wanting to play anymore.
And also, when would that have been?
That was when I was 16 years old. It was literally 18 years ago.
18 years.
So 2000s, early 2000s.
Okay, so it was a lot. It was a lot more difficult to pull off the sound effects and stuff too.
Oh yeah, of course, they weren't actually real sound effects. It was essentially like connecting with ribbon shoes that essentially scrapes against the walls.
Oh wow, like old school.
Yeah, very old school.
Practical effects.
Yeah. And also, I think it helped because we were 16 years old. We were 4 people going for a summer holiday for 5 days in a rent room. Out like in a beach place kind of thing. So they didn't know the place as well. They were very unfamiliar with it. So the sounds, the wind, everything was really something they didn't know. So it was very easy for me to play with the surroundings kind of thing. So yeah, it was a very interesting experience for me as well. I was like, oh,
creepy.
I can break people. That's interesting. I still do it.
Wow, we're learning things today on this stream. Beware, Dimitris.
In psychology, which makes him more dangerous.
Exactly. I said after I discovered I can break people, I said, I can do it scientifically as well.
No, to be fair, you mainly use your powers for good.
Yes, it's true. Mostly.
Mostly.
For RPG.
Wait a minute, you also have a degree in psychology?
Yes, I have 3 degrees, in fact, not one. I have
he has a degree in computing and sort of computer engineering. 2
degrees.
A degree in design and a degree in social psychology.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Did you just keep going to school until you figured out what you wanted to do?
No. I finished my degrees.
I understand you finished them, but going from psychology to developer seems like...
Okay, let me explain how this started. When I was very young, my father was intelligent enough, and he had actually the idea of understanding that computing was going to be a very big thing. So he sent me 5 years old to go to computing school, which made me fall in love with coding. That's how my idea started. So from 5 years old, I was coding. When I started university, I started a development degree because I wanted to learn more about effectively and become a professional in the field. That led to make a master's because in Greece, it's very easy to go for the first master's degree in one of your degrees. So I did take my master's here. And then when I finished that, it was literally when internet started to become pretty, and I was like, I want to do internet. I knew that from the beginning back then, but I need to make my stuff look cool. So I decided to leave Greece by myself and go to the UK to learn how to become a designer. And I finished my degree. And when I finished my degree there, I was like, that is really cool, but this thing that is happening right now, like forums and everything like that, is going to take the next level. I didn't know what it was the next level back then. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to do social psychology, and I'm going to find how what we have right now, which was forums and IRC. Do you remember IRC? And Undernet? Were you part of the internet? IRC, yeah, Internet Relay Chat.
Internet Relay Chat.
Yeah, back in the days. Like
that's like internal systems, like in a company internal system?
No. It was literally chat, like Discord, but
early chat,
early Discord. And then effectively, I did my degree, and my degree was a master's degree on understanding social psychology in web culture. That was the name of the master's I've done.
But you did that in distance learning while you were working?
Yes. And then the moment I finished this degree, I said, during the next 6 months to a year, you will see the rise of a new way of communicating with the internet. And then Facebook came.
Have you seen, this is making me think of, there's a social media documentary on Netflix.
The Social Dilemma. Yeah, we watched it recently.
Yeah, it just makes me think of that, and like
the thing is,
people using all that information for evil, essentially.
Yes. When I joined the internet back in the day, it was a completely different place. Really, and all the people in the documentary, I could see them because I knew they knew what they were talking about because they have been in that internet.
Yeah.
Facebook has created a massive ripple effect that nobody will understand if you were not in the internet before, because before Facebook, people who were on the internet had a completely different understanding of it. Before it got literally popular, internet became popular at some point. You saw it with the rise of the iPhone and the rise of personal computers and everything like that. And you could see that something is going to happen. You could see that people will start communicating in a different way because we have reached the top of what we could do with what we had back then. And it needed to be the next step. You saw back then we had things like the bulletin boards, and we had things like the very first communities online that it looked like they were trying to go for becoming what Facebook became. So creating small communities and interacting with people and sharing information and things like that. And you reach the point of saturation, and you knew that will happen, essentially.
Yeah, forums, like I guess would be like the precursor kind of.
It were forums and mini communities essentially, but yeah, it was there.
I was kind of late to the internet. Like I didn't have my own computer until I was in my early 20s, and I had gotten I had bought a house and then got married the next year, I think. So like,
yeah, but most people were like that. Most people, like as I said before Facebook, there was such a minority of people that were using the internet for out of their work.
Yeah,
I lived in the internet since I was 10 years old. Literally, my friends all from the internet. To this day,
back when you had to murder robots to get online. Only through the screams of dying robots could you gain access to the internet.
I remember that the only reason my father would shout at me was because it was 7 o'clock in the morning and I wanted to wake up to go into the internet and say good morning to my friends and play my browser-based games, because there was only browser-based games back then, before I go to school. And my father would shout at me because the moment that the murder robot was going on, everybody would wake up in the game, in the house.
Yeah. It's such a god awful song.
I remember the murder robot.
Yeah.
Even me.
Yeah, so when I started using internet, I never even used dial-up.
Yeah, because you have probably directly to broadband, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. And plus, like, I grew up kind of poor, so there was definitely, we were late to getting video game consoles, let alone computers. So, and then like I would interact and lurk in like forums a little bit, but for the most of the part, like I never did like gaming stuff online.
My parents are both academics. They're both university professors. So there were always computers around in the house because they were work items, right? So we had 2 games. One of them was called Jill of the Jungle. Oh no, we had Prince of Persia as well. Very early version of Prince of Persia. We had Jill of the Jungle, and this is like where all of my love for computer games comes from, because I remember sitting for hours like fighting Jill of the Jungle and Prince of Persia. And then one game where you were cats fighting spiders, which I have never been able to find again.
Cats fighting spiders.
Cats fighting spiders. And yeah, you had to do things to kill the spiders, which to be fair, I do to this day. And yeah, I mean, that was my early experience. And then then I discovered that the internet was full of information, and I was like, "Ooh, this is awesome!" Because I'm a big old nerd.
So I used to play, use the BattleNet and play StarCraft online.
Interesting to say that. Yeah. So there are two very, very big accomplishments I had online before World Anvil, because definitely World Anvil is my accomplishment for my life. I cannot see topping it in any way. But the first accomplishment I ever made was back in 2000 when Warcraft, the first one, like Warcraft the game, came out.
The strategy, the real-time strategy game.
Exactly. Yeah. When Blizzard was still a very, very tiny company, like very small company, and they have went online to a place called GeoCities. I don't know if you ever known what GeoCities are. It was a very old hosting place that you could host your own pages, and they have prepared a competition for people to build pages for Warcraft, and I have built one of them, and Blizzard gave me an award for creating a page for the game, which was nothing apart from images and then some information about the units of the game. That's pretty much it. And the second thing I have created in the internet that I loved was actually, fun enough, an RPG site called dungeon.gr, which was when second edition was up, and then kind of the beginning of the third edition of D&D. And I have created a place that people can go and upload or search for netbooks. Have you ever been in the period of netbooks? Do you know what they are?
Yeah.
So essentially, I have created a website that people could go there and download netbooks, and I was organizing it into an images for inspiration for the D&D games. That was my very first.
You were a pirate.
Yes, I was a pirate in many ways.
Pirate King, I think, if you had the site.
I didn't even know I was a pirate back then because,
I think almost everything was available for free distribution.
Yes. Also, first of all, the numbers were very small. Like the people who were getting those games were actually very small amount. Now we have millions. Before you had like thousands of that kind of thing. Yeah. And most of the netbooks were not copies of the original games. They were kind of, for example,
like homebrew stuff.
Like now we call them homebrew. Now they would call them netbooks.
Yeah, it was like people would make adventures and put a map in it and then put them up.
Oh, so not like the official content and stuff like that.
It was all like actually it was like drive-through RPG.
Yeah.
Except you didn't have to pay because it was everything.
And also everything was in text, like TXT files.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a different era back then.
The good old days.
Where I don't know if they were good, but it was definitely a very interesting beginning. I
used to spend a lot of time lurking on the Atomic Think Tank was a Green Ronin. It was their forum for their Mutants and Masterminds games.
Yeah.
And you could find all the different superhero builds over there. It used to be pretty cool. And even N-World, as big as N-World is now, what happened? They got hacked or something and they had to start over.
Right? Yes, at some point in the very beginning. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Years ago. I remember that happened because I used to lurk around there as well. And RPG Net was probably another one. But I was never really engaged very much. I was always more of a lurker.
But these were the communities back then, right? RPG.net and Ian World. This was how RPG started in the internet, essentially.
Yeah. And also, if you ever seen me type back then, especially, you'd understand why I was more of a lurker than part of the community.
Oh yeah, the two finger peck.
Yeah.
Well, my dad still uses the 2-finger peck. He's written entire books using the 2-finger peck.
Oh wow!
It shouldn't slow you down.
You just have to peck really fast. That's all.
Yeah, just
and I can see
like a manic chicken. Yeah.
Like a big.
Oh, that's funny.
Don't diss the 2-finger peck. It can take you a long way.
So I didn't anticipate we were going to go down the internet.
Full of memories.
Yeah, but I never know where these things are going to go. So, which is kind of cool. And it is interesting though to see where everything's gone from back to where it's you had some forums to look at things and you could upload some things to now we're watching people play games over the internet. You might be one of 30,000 people watching a Critical Role stream. From back then. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the world just got so much bigger than we expected it to. Because I remember the early days of the internet being like, I can go and look stuff up. I was a music nerd, so I was like, I can go look stuff up on Grove's Encyclopedia online, which is a big music encyclopedia. And at that point, it didn't occur to me that this machine connected me to literally every other person who had a machine like this, and I could go and find them somewhere on the internet.
Yeah.
Also,
Like that gives me like horizontal vertigo in a way, like that kind of like feeling. But it's true now. Like that's the truth. And now we have them in our pockets.
yeah.
Well,
Also,
yeah, not only that, but you guys built your own community of like 1 million people now, right? Going from like, I can't believe I can get all this information and I'm connected to these people, but you guys built your own community of 1 million people, which you're like, that's bigger than the city I live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true.
That's absolutely true.
But what's interesting still is the way that the internet, and you know more about this than me, is the way that the internet tribes. So with our community, we have all of these people using World Anvil, which is awesome. But the place that we connect them is different because some of them are on our Discord, some of them are on our YouTube, some of them are on our Twitch, and they don't all go to the same places. So we have like little sub communities. And that means when we do a live stream, we stream to Twitch and YouTube at the same time. And I'll see folks in the YouTube chat who all recognize each other, and they're like, "Hey, Rin, hey, Dan, how are you doing?" And they have this little village, they have this little sub tribe, and then there's another little sub tribe in the Twitch, and then there's another little sub tribe in the comments of the videos. It's amazing.
Even more amazing is the fact that we don't realize there are so many communities in World Anvil we don't even know about.
Yeah.
So from time to time, for example, somebody will tell me, "Oh, we found the bug in our community," and I was like, "Okay, which community is that?" And he will send me a link, and I will go into a Discord server that has 500 people, which I have never met, and I have no idea that they are members of World Anvil, but they are all members of World Anvil, either players or game masters, and they have their own little community that they have organized somehow from going from a forum that they used to be, and they gather all together, and they created a Discord community for World Anvil gold building, not part of the gold building community in World Anvil.
Like a little sort of splinter sub-community. Yeah.
And you're like, wow, okay. That's amazing.
And we have the language communities as well. So we have a whole Spanish community and like so it's a whole Greek community. It's
with their own servers.
With their own servers as well.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It's like being an explorer and discovering these like new cultures and worlds in the world that you didn't know about.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we specialize in creating worlds, so it's no wonder, to be fair.
It makes sense. It was meant to happen. So what is like one of the most unexpected features that's been requested and you're like, oh, why didn't we have this?
Well, I think that those family trees for a long time.
Family trees, my God, yeah. So we did a big questionnaire back in the end of 2018.
Beginning of 19. Yeah, but yes.
Yeah, so end of 2018, beginning of 19, with this massive community questionnaire. And we got thousands of answers. And as we looked through, family trees was one of the most requested features. And we were like, oh, these people want family trees. Holy crap. And it like wasn't even in our space. Like we as we thought about the different things that we would need, family trees was like so down on the list. We were like, yeah, okay, it's a nice to have. And this is one of the reasons that we reach out to our community and ask them what they want, because if everybody wants family trees, it goes up the list. Right? That's how it works. We want to make it for the people who are using it.
And now we have it, of course.
Yes, so now we do have family trees and bloodlines and all sorts of other fun stuff.
And they're used, but it makes sense. And the reason for it was simple, that people either create worlds for their campaigns, which of course we understand as storytellers, but also people create worlds for their books.
Yeah.
And when they write for their books, for example, they want to understand the relationship between the casts and the characters and where they're coming from, especially if they're writing, for example, epic fantasy, and they have noble families and noble trees and like that. And suddenly it made sense, and that's where we're like, oh, yes, because the next thing we've done after having this chat is actually returning back to these people and saying, okay, guys, let's have a discussion. How are you going to use it? Why do you want it to happen, kind of thing? And it was a very interesting discussion to understand how people will be using this thing.
It's always interesting in World Anvil to see the trends of the worlds that are coming up. And when Skyrim came out, there was a ton of like Viking Nordic worlds. And when Game of Thrones was really big, there was a ton of medieval fantasy dynasty stuff. And that was like prime when we were doing the family trees, was when everybody was so like writing Game of Thrones stuff. Basically, they were writing noble families with heraldry, with mottos that fought each other in a Game of Thrones.
But I think that
style,
even internally, and that you cannot see that like that much as I do, but even internally in the community, you can feel that there are kind of waves of things that are coming and features that are coming. So you go ahead and you put a feature out, and then suddenly you have 10 people that request exactly the same feature because something sparked their heads. The moment they see A and B,
they're like,
and
oh,
they're like,
what if we
definitely
had
C.
this? Yeah,
Exactly. And it's very interesting to see that, you are creating something, but you can never really understand or really predict what is going to bring forth and what people will require from that. And that's why people, where they're coming to World Anvil, sometimes they say, oh my God, it's so much.
Yeah.
But it is so much because it's something that is a good expression we're using so lately is like your dad's toolbox. It's not made to be the perfect tool. It's made to be a toolbox that you can put out of it the thing that you need when you need it, but you need to have it there to use it in the first place when you need it, right? You can't just not have it.
So basically, you don't need every single tool in the toolbox to make a table, but all the tools are there for whatever you are trying to build. That's the idea.
Because now you're building a table, tomorrow you might be building a chair, and you need a different tool kind of thing for it.
Or painting a house. You need different tools for different jobs, and that's where World Anvil really thrives.
Are you able to pull data from World Anvil to see like what people are creating their worlds for?
So for public worlds, yes.
Mm-hmm.
For private worlds, no. Because of privacy policy, we do not touch at all, and we cannot, in fact, if we want to, because there are encoded data for our private. But we do have an extensive public part, and we do know a lot about what people are using, what kind of games they're playing, what kind of things are building. Yes.
Yeah. So we can see which worlds are using which systems if they're public. Mm-hmm. We can see which worlds don't have systems, which are often writing worlds.
Yeah.
Or comic worlds or game worlds, because we have a lot of people using it for video games as well. But yeah, again, like if it's private, we can't see it. We can't see content on there that's private. We can't see details about the world if it's private.
Yeah.
So do you ever publish that data? Like, I mean, not in a way that you're like, this is, you're naming people or whatever, but just like, oh, these are how many people are using it for D&D. This is how many people are using it for.
We do from time to time. Essentially, we sit down. You have to understand, we're not Facebook or here. We don't have even the capacity or the time to sit down and do like advanced models or anything like that. But every time and every now and then, we have a major stream, like a birthday or a celebration stream or an award ceremony, because we do them as well. We will sit down. We'll spend about 2 hours mine the website for information. We do announcements about things like that, like statistics of how many articles we have, how many worlds we have, how many of those are D&D, which are the top games being played, this kind of information. It's fun. Yeah. It's fun. Yeah. I can tell you right now, the 5th edition, by far the greatest one. Yeah. But we have very many actually growing now underneath it kind of thing.
So do you know what the number 2 is?
Number 2 right now is Pathfinder 1st edition. Number 3, I think right now is Starfinder. I think it's Starfinder. Number 4 is Call of Cthulhu.
I was going to say, it must be high on the list.
Number 6.
5.
Number 5. What was it? There was Savage Worlds.
Savage Worlds.
Yes. Number 6, we had. It's either Star Trek Adventures or Fate. I can't remember right now, but we can put some numbers and can send it to you.
We have a lot of Vampire Masquerade worlds as well.
We do have a lot of the Vampire the Masquerades. They're not in the top 10 so much because they are very segregated into the systems. Like they have World of Darkness and COD, which means what was the other? It's
Call of Darkness.
No, it's not
Cloaks of Darkness.
No, it is Chronicles of Darkness.
Yes.
And there are first and second editions for each of them. So effectively, they're definitely, if you put them all together, they're definitely very high. Yeah. But because they're broken down into versions, they go lower essentially.
It splinters. So what is the difference between the number 1 spot and the number 2 spot?
2 and 3 don't have such a big difference. 1 and 2 have a massive difference. So we're talking about, I think the first one is 65% and the second one is 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, doesn't surprise me.
When we were doing Saver Dice and streaming and discussing, what systems to play, and one of the people wanted to do like Starfinder or Pathfinder, and they're like, a Paizo thing, and they're like, they're number 2 and number 3. I'm like, yeah, but I bet the difference between 1 and 2 is so vast it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just that name recognition is a tough hurdle to get over. Have you seen
changing,
other
though.
games rising more
I was
recently?
about to say it's changing. The last 6 months,
Yeah.
I have seen unprecedented change on the essentially anything within the top 20 rising quite high.
But I
like
think
quickly.
I think that for so many people, D&D 5e was that gateway. Like that's where they came in, and now they're starting to explore other systems, which is really cool. Like I'm so ready for that. You know, I've nothing against 5e, but there are so many cool systems out there.
Yeah, like Zweihander, for example, got a lot of got very up. We had Fate was going quite high as well quickly.
Yeah, Savage Worlds had
a big boost as well. What else? Oh, a lot of the Modiphius games
like
Conan Exiles. What else was rising?
Dishonored, right? Has come.
Yeah, Dishonored did not go actually that high compared to the rest of them. What else was there? I can't remember right now. I have to check, but yeah, actually, if I open the, give me a second, I can open it.
So I've had this theory. I've had this theory, you know, that we've been seeing this renaissance with D&D and talking to over the last few years, I've talked to a lot of different either third party or indie game designers, and they're like, oh, we haven't really been seeing it. I'm like, I think you will, but I think it's going to be a lag because of what you said, Janet, because you like people come into gaming through D&D most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time. And then they play that for a while, and then they start going, well, what else can I play, with D&D, right? And then they might Google that, and then they realize, oh, there's another system that you would use for that, right? And then they start exploring other things. So I think we're probably just about getting. I always anticipated there being like at least a 3-year lag between the renaissance of D&D and it's starting to trickle out to other games.
It will take a little bit longer, in fact, from 3 years, but it's definitely shown. So what I was checking right now is that Simple D20 and Dungeon World, which are all essentially different versioning or essentially open games that they're effectively free to play and free to buy kind of thing, are risen a lot lately as well.
Yeah,
which is good. The community is growing, getting bigger.
Do you have a favorite system, Dave?
Do I have a favorite system? I mean, I really like 5e, but I don't know. It's hard to say just because I've been playing D&D for so long. I feel like I'm probably very, very biased. But I've played a lot of other systems that I've really enjoyed as well. Like we're running a Cypher system game now. That's a lot of fun. Recently I played Monster of the Week for the first time, and that was a lot of fun. It's like, so if I'm going to play fantasy, I'm probably just going to play D&D. And it's when I start looking to play something different, a different genre, that I start looking at other systems.
Exactly. And that was the other thing that we've seen the last time we ran on stats. We've seen that people who got onboarded with D&D, when it comes to fantasy, they stayed with D&D.
Yeah.
When it comes to other systems like Numenera, for example, or Cypher, or what was the other one? A very famous cyberpunk game with fantasy elements. I'm getting stuck now.
The thing that Bright was based on, right?
Yes.
Shadowrun. There we go.
Shadowrun. All Shadowrun, because they are not fantasy, so they're not competing in the same level that D&D has. But there are people who want to move away from fantasy into fantasy, or to science fiction, or cyberpunk, or science fantasy kind of thing. And these games are perfect for that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, we actually played a Shadowrun game, but we used Cypher system.
Huh.
Cool.
And I don't know, I always kind of hear the same thing about Shadowrun. Like, it's a great world. It's a great, the genre is awesome, and the world building is amazing, but the systems have always been so, right? And so we're like, well, we want to play with all that, but we don't really want to use the system. So we decided to do Cypher system. And when the GM at the time was trying to figure that out and was looking, there is already a bunch of the Dungeon World. What is it? Apocalypse Engine?
Yes, part of the Apocalypse. Yeah.
Yeah, there was already a bunch of hacks for that. So people were already doing that, going, we really want to play this in this world, but we just don't want to use this system.
But you see, we see exactly the same thing as well, like exactly the opposite thing. We see a lot of people who are using D&D 5th edition rules to write again games like Star Wars and Star Trek and these like worlds they love.
Yeah.
But making it in a system that is, for example, familiar to their players.
Exactly,
or that
yeah. Because we field that question all the time. Like, how do I play X with D&D? And I'm like, and like, so we're kind of like of the camp that, well, why would you? They have that game. Star Wars is like the biggest one, right? I'm like, why don't you pick one of the other 6 Star Wars games and play that?
Yeah,
right, exactly. You've got a serious choice there. No, it's true. I mean, again, Star Trek is the same.
To be fair with you, I think that there are some very beautiful games that have been done with 5th edition rules, but 5th edition is not made to be run so much away from fantasy. Like, there are a lot of things that simplified a lot, which is great for many people, because if you have ever played 3.5, you know how much of a, let's say,
gritty fest it is.
It was a lot of numbers to track. But I think that because it's so simplified, it cannot do so easily, for example, cyberpunk or science fiction, which requires more skill-based system kind of thing. It's easier to play with skill-based system when it comes to science fiction because intelligence plays a bigger role in these kind of games in terms of the character kind of thing.
What he's trying to tell you is that he loves Alternity.
I do love Alternity, but that's
yeah. And that boils on. No, and I totally get that, and I agree. Like D&D is really good at doing D&D, and then when the further away from you get from D&D you get, the less it's able to really mold it. It gets to the point where, like, I understand why people do it is because they don't want to learn new rules, right? Yeah. And they just want to be able to play the game they understand and maybe play it in different ways. But I just feel like, and which probably works from the player standpoint. But if you're
what I was just about to say. There is nobody who hates learning new systems more than the players. They are like recalcitrant children. You bring out the new book that you're so excited about, and you're like, guys, I have a new thing. And they go, oh, I know how character sheet works. I want to play a new thing. So yeah, I see the wisdom of it from that point.
And also the hacks, right? The changes are really small for the player side.
Yeah.
On the DM side, it's like you have to make a new system. You literally made a new system. You just powered it with 5e and it's a lot of work. So from the GM side, I'm just like, it'd be so much easier for you to just learn the new system than basically make a system. I don't know. My son just started playing. There's a Star Wars 5e hack that's out online for free that people have been using. And he just started in a game of that and he's having fun with it. But again, like as a player, it's perfect when you're just like, oh, like all this stuff just is in the D&D language I already understand, and I know what dice to roll. Yeah. But for the person who had to make that, they literally just designed a brand new game essentially. So,
but I think that the rules themselves can change the experience of the game. Like I was thinking of things like Genesis. Or the Genesis system, in fact, was used also in it was Star Wars. I think it's using.
Yeah, it was used in Star Wars.
Yeah. It's a different, like the narrative system there. It's very interesting, but it has a completely different mindset. Like it's very hard for somebody who's playing D&D to move to that system unless they spend some time understanding the logic behind narrative dice and how they change the way you describe things and what kind of abilities it gives you, because it's not more about what you have but what you can think of kind of thing. It's
super crunchy too. There's a lot of numbers. You got skill trees and it was fun. Like we played it and we had a ton of fun with it.
I think it's like languages though. Like the more languages you learn, the easier it gets, and the more systems you learn, the easier it gets. I think you become a more flexible player as
well. The definition made it so easy to enter the RPG world, and sadly it made it so hard for you to move further.
Everything else looks like such hard work.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
I'll take your word for it. I still struggle with English, so I haven't broken that barrier yet. Is gibberish a language? Does that count?
I'm learning Greek now, and I think it's my 5th language. And it's definitely easier than my 2nd language. It's just, it gets easier every time. And I strongly believe it's like D&D.
I'm always fascinated by people that are multilingual. And so like, Dimitri, what language do you think in?
That's a good question.
That's what I always wonder when people are multi-language or lingual. You know, when they think, what language are they thinking?
Both. In many cases, both. And also, it's very hard because that is something that you understand probably only if you have learned multiple languages. But because you understand the meaning behind words, and different languages mean a little bit different things about words, I find that there are gaps in my thinking in Greek that are covered by English and the other way around. Like some meanings cannot be clearly described in English, and some meanings cannot be described in Greek.
Yeah.
So,
it's the same. Like, so I speak English, French, Italian, a bit of German, Dutch, and now Greek. And in each language, there are words and concepts that I have learned and fully understand in that language, which I cannot then express in another language. But do you know what? Having learned that language and having learned those concepts and sort of taken them into my person, I now I've got a bit more a slightly bigger breadth of knowledge and understanding as a person, and I like that. That's really fun.
But literally, learning a language literally rewires your brain.
Yeah.
Also, if you speak it for too long, you start dreaming in that language, and it's really weird. So I have had dreams in Dutch, and Dutch is not a pretty language.
Yeah.
And I used to speak in my sleep in Dutch, and Dimitris said it sounded like I was possessed.
It did. Because you're also slurring when you're asleep, and slurring and have these phlegmatic noises.
Yeah, there's a lot of hey in Dutch. It's the letter G and SCH.
I mean, just because you're dreaming in Dutch, can we truly really rule out that you're not possessed?
I might be possessed. Yeah. I mean, if I start saying things like Scheveningen, you'll know.
So Splinter says that as a multilingual person, they think in images.
Huh. Interesting.
I guess that kind of makes sense. Do you remember there was an old movie it probably came out in the 80s, and I don't know if it was Firefox or something, but it was this Russian jet that worked off of your thoughts. You commanded it by thinking, but you had to think in the pilot was American because I guess they captured it. But so you had to think in Russian in order to control the plane.
Oh man, that's cool.
I think that's why I think that movie is the reason why I always ask multilingual people what language they think. It's just how my brain works. Anyway, we are well past the hour mark. Final thoughts before we head out?
It was very nice to see you again.
Yeah, this was so much fun.
Yes.
Thanks for inviting us on.
Yeah, and you made the mistake of giving me an open invitation to come visit. So
it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. We cannot wait, honestly. And I'm serious. Let me know when, and we can look at flights together, because it sounds like you're looking at the wrong journeys, and we can help you with that.
I very may well have been, and I also might have been hyperbolic as well. But I'm pretty sure I probably saw 2,000 at least. Okay. But yeah, it might also be the time of year too.
Yeah, it's possible. But in terms of final thoughts, I think that we should always say that in about 5 days from now, we're launching one of the biggest competitions we have in a year.
Yes, World Anvil is coming.
And we have some amazing sponsors this year. We have Hero Forge and Cobalt Press and Tabletop Loot. And they're giving prizes out very generously to people.
We have a ton of raffle sponsors as well, so we'll be going live. We go live 3 times a week. We'll be raffling off a ton of stuff on those live streams as well.
So if you want to build your World War campaign, that's a very good time to take part, and it's free. I mean, usually you don't need to have an account that is paid or anything like that on World Anvil. You can do it with a free account, 100%, and you can take part and take so many prizes.
Yeah, exactly. So if folks in the chat are interested, that's worldanvil.com/worldember to learn more about the challenge and take part. But basically,
there's a link to the website in the description, and there will be one in the pin comment. But I can add that one too if that's a specific.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
For people to go and check it out.
Yeah, so. And you just write words and win prizes.
And as long as you write 10,000 words in a month, because that's the challenge essentially, which it's very little.
It works out as 333 words a day.
Then
that's nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you're eligible to take part and win prizes or something like that. Yeah.
Nice. Sounds good. Well, it's been a pleasure, guys. And to everyone else, till next time, stay nerdy.